How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China. Just going to settle in my chair quick. That's it. Now, if you know this channel, you know that I love my toy soldiers and my wargaming. And I use that medium to platform my understandings of the war of resistance against Japanese aggression in China from 1931 to 1945. Right, got that out the way. Now, if you like what I do, you should press like or subscribe. Now, I'm going to talk today about the Type 90 7.5 centimeter anti-aircraft gun in Japanese service from 1928 onwards, and it served with the Imperial Japanese Army on almost every front. I couldn't find a front that it didn't serve it. It served from the Aleutians to the Solomons, all the way through China, and at the end of the war was found itself being withdrawn for redeployment to the mainland. But let's get back to the design. Now, in 1927, the Japanese Army knew that its existing 75mm anti-aircraft gun, the Type 11, was just not up to the job. So they field tested a number of foreign guns that they imported singly, and they were most impressed with the Vickers, the quick-firing 3-inch AA gun that Vickers made, and they based their design with a lot of that gun. They copied a lot of that gun, and took great inspiration from it, and in some ways improved it, so that when this came into service in 1928, it was indeed as good as anything in the West or the East. It was, and bearing in mind this was a complicated weapon for Japan to produce, always was. That's why she only managed to produce 2,000 of them. But still, they got around, and they soldiered on until and they were still around in 1945. Now, as I said, this weapon was cutting edge in 1928, but between 1928 and 1941, there was a phenomenal development in aircraft speed, range, height, altitude, and performance. And the Type 88 found itself almost obsolete by 1941. However, as Japan expanded into the Pacific on her conquests, the Type 88 went with her, and you can mainly always find the 88 on the coast, because the Type 88 on the coast, because it was a very heavy gun. It weighed 2,739 kilos to shift this gun on its wheeled mount. So a difficult gun to move around in the jungles of Asia. Now, when the gun was first issued to the RGA, it was towed by the Type 94 truck. However, this truck was found a bit wanting, so in 1936 they replaced the Type 94s in service towing them with Type 96, which is an upgraded Type 94 with an improved transmission and the rear properly, the tray at the back properly organised for an artillery crew with stowage and equipment. Now, as I said, the gun would soldier on until 1945. Now, at one point in the war, when the Allies first entered the war against Japan, they had believed that the Type 88 was the German 8.8 centimeter Flak 36, but I think they were probably confusing the Type 88 with the Type 89 88mm gun, which was a copy of the 8.8 centimeter German guns, the SKC guns, captured from the Chinese at Jiangyin. Now, so early in the war, this gun was very misunderstood, and it seems that it's continued to be misunderstood, because, as I said previously, from late 43 onwards, it seems that these were being withdrawn to the mainland. But I know how short Japanese shipping was, how effective Japanese, the American U.S. Navy submarine effort was during that time. And I think many of these would have ended up, if they were shipped out, would have ended up at the bottom of the sea. Now, I'm going to talk now about its anti-tank capabilities. Now, according to some sources, and as I said, or if I haven't said it, I will repeat it, Rotman, Fort 40, Chan and Bishop are the sources I used. So, as many sources have claimed that this gun was knocking out Russian tanks during the Soviet-Japanese border clashes, and others say that these were knocking out Shermans on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. But the above authors don't mention it at all, or say it's highly unlikely because there's no evidence. So the myth around these guns continues, because I found that lots of people were quoting that, but I couldn't find where it came from. And then when I got to Chan and read my own books, it was dismissed. So let's get on to its performance. So as I said, it fired multiple types of ammunition: shrapnel, smoke, incendiary, illumination, and its AA type, its anti-aircraft type, was a heavy, high explosive anti-aircraft projectile that weighed 6.52 kilos. And the high explosive was the projectile weighed 6.35 kilos. Now the armor-piercing round was a Type 95 armor-piercing high explosive, and it weighed the projectile weighed 6.2 kilograms. And let's bear in mind that that projectile was traveling at 720 meters per second, whereas, like say, a Pak 40, its shell was traveling a 7.5 centimeter Pak 40 anti-tank gun German. Its shell was traveling at 790 meters per second. So not a bad performance for a gun that was a lot older than the Pak 40. Now, she had a crew of 12, and as I said, she was used throughout the war. Now, some sources would say that she was formed. I'm going to explain something now. Now, she was usually formed into two types of anti-aircraft battalion. And the anti-aircraft battalion that you would find 75mm Type 88s in would be the field gun battalion of 12 guns, which is 3 companies, 4 guns each, or an AA gun battalion of 3 companies of 6 guns each. So for rapid fire, if you wanted to play them for rapid fire, you would need 2 guns, 2 TROs, a supply vehicle, and a small HQ. For the field gun AA battalion. If you wanted to add another 75mm gun, then you'd have the AA battalion. Anyway, I don't get much call for these guns in China, but they will come up one day, I'm sure. Now, back to rapid fire and the AA organizations. For the Japanese, you could have these towed by the Type 98 half tracks if you were going to field them within an armoured division. Now, if you were also going to field them with an armoured division, anti-aircraft support for an armoured division, you would attach one Type 98 SP 20mm prime mover to sorry, you would attach those also. That would be a 20mm company. I'm getting confused because I've been doing all numbers. Anyway, have a sip of my beer and I'll see if I get this right. So for rapid fire, you could have two or three companies of one gun each for rapid fire, or the same for the SP Type 98s. You could have two or three, depending on which source you were using. But I would just go for the two. Now, as I was saying before, you don't need many vehicles in rapid fire, and that's far too many. But it's nice to have them, and at this, I once played a game and fielded two of these guns, a battalion, and I didn't set them up in time, and I really paid for it. So they're the kind of weapon you've got to get on the table and get deployed as quick as you can, because they've got the range and they've certainly got the capability. And they were in service from the Aleutians to the Solomons, all across the Pacific, and it's a great gun to have if you're going to buy a small force and you want to do, Americans hitting a Japanese beach. It's a great gun to just put on the beach, isn't it? And beach is probably right for these guns because they were so bloody heavy that you couldn't move them very far. So there you go. The Type 88 7.5 centimeter and Japanese anti-aircraft gun in 20mm for the wargames table. See ya.